Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin.
Hi there, I'm Ralph behind the camera.
And welcome to Cavalcade of Food. And Ralph, today, by request, we're going to take a little tour of the range room.
What's the range room?
The range room is this area over here. Normally we go to the kitchen, but this time we're going to go this way.
Oh, where you keep the
and
stoves.
come into where all the stoves are. And a number of you have been saying, can you show more of your stoves?
Collection.
And those of you who have been food friends for a long time will recognize some of these stoves because they were in our videos from the cottage, especially when every spring I would put a new stove in the cottage and we'd switch it out. And we've even now done a couple of stove exchanges here at the Cavalcade studio more than once a year. And now finally I'm able to actually use some of the 40-inch stoves, Ralph, that are in the collection.
Right.
So, like I said, some of these will look familiar, some of them won't, particularly the 40-inch stoves, because I've never been able to really use those. But this is kind of the area here where I've got a few refrigerators here too, and maybe we'll take in another video we can take a closer look at the fridges.
Got any coffee pots?
I got a coffee pot or two here, and of course stuff everywhere. But let's see, where should we start? Well, why don't we, since we're over here, Ralph, let's just start down this aisle. And again, some of these will be familiar, others won't. Here's a beautiful Frigidaire Thrifty 30 range. This stove was in the cottage at one time. Great baking stove here.
Look at the cool knobs.
Yeah, I love it. It has the knobs that are on the front. And then the first stove, when we started doing Cavalcade of Food way back in 2011, I think it was this stove right here, this 58 General Electric. This was the first. And do you know, this was my first vintage stove, Ralph, that I ever got.
So you've only been collecting stoves since 2011?
Well, I bought it much before then.
Oh, I see.
I think I bought it. It sat in my garage for probably almost 10 years.
I see. But this
was
the one that started it all.
This is the one that started it all. This was the first one, and it's a great stove. I think you used to say it thought it was a jukebox with all the buttons on it.
It was the stove that thought it was a jukebox.
And
sorry, Mr. Shelf, I bumped into you.
That's okay.
I'm trying to show the, I'm trying to show the buttons. It's hard to get in there, but there's an array of push buttons. Yeah.
And here,
cool.
Here's an easier one. We'll kind of do both sides of the aisle.
Oh yeah.
Here's a Hot Point stove, which Hot Point was a subsidiary of General Electric, and they had push-button cooking as well. And this wonderful 40-inch Hot Point is going to end up in the studio kitchen one of these days. This is a single oven, but it's still a good working stove. Here's a couple of Frigidaire Twins. These are very close together in age. If you look, this is sort of a little different. This is a self-cleaning oven. This is not a self-cleaning oven. That's the difference. This one's got a window in the door, and this one does not. These I call these the Frigidaire Twins. Over here, this beautiful 61 Westinghouse. This is an Aristocrat model. This was in the Detroit kitchen for a while. I love this stove. I love the style of it. It's a beautiful range, and it beautifully baking stove. I love everything about it.
The design, the functionality, everything. Okay.
Yeah.
And you may have noticed that he has 99% of Kevin's stoves are electric.
Yes. Yeah. I only have one gas stove, and I only have it because somebody gave it to me.
But that's due to the fact that his history of baking came from his mom and grandma, who also used electric.
I grew up with an electric stove. I think a lot of it, people say, well, what's better, gas or electric? You know what? It's what you're comfortable with. And I grew up using an electric stove. I know how to cook on an electric stove, and so that's what I'm used to. People who grew up with a gas stove tell me the same thing about gas. So here's a beautiful Frigidaire 40-inch range here. It's got this beautiful kind of almost a streamlined look to it with this light that comes out over it, and early 50s.
What about that thing
That's a deep well cooker, Ralph. So this, if you look down there, there's a burner down there, which you can lift up, by the way, if you want to have another surface unit, or...
Lassie, go get help. Timmy fell in the deep well cooking.
But this was a real popular feature in stoves in the late 40s and into the 50s. So this would be great for making soup and stews, and you could deep fry in that.
I was just going to ask, could you deep fry? And what about this pink number?
So this pink number here is a 1956 Frigidaire. Isn't it a beauty?
Wow, it is.
It's one of the few stoves I have that are not white. I have a white version of this stove, Ralph, as well. The white version of the stove actually was in the cottage. You may remember it.
Oh, those French doors.
French doors.
Yes, I do. Got a lot of compliments on those doors. Yeah. I don't know why they stopped making them like that.
I know. What a great design. Here is another push-button stove. This one is a Crosley. This stove was in the cottage for a season.
Oh, yeah.
And it has from low to high it has 8 different cooking speeds. And this is a I believe it's a 55 Crosley electric range.
So you can get Jailhouse Rock on this number. This beauty.
Over here's another 40-inch stove. This is a Calvinator. And this is almost look at this awning that kind of hangs over.
Yes.
It has your controls right here for your oven and burners, and it's a single oven unit. It's got a little storage area there down at the bottom. Nice old Calvinator. And then over here, this is a 66 Montgomery Ward Signature. I believe this one was at the cottage also for a while. This is a Menumatic. This was actually made by the Tap and Stove Company, and I love this stove. I just loved it, and it cleans so easily. It has
really sleek.
It has panels on the side that you can take out to clean. So it makes cleaning the oven. And look at the size of that oven. It's really big.
And what year did you say this was?
66. And over here's a Frigidaire. I got to clean this old one up. This was used a lot, and they certainly weren't good about cleaning up after the stove. But I'll get it scrubbed up. But it's a nice old Frigidaire. And what is here's the oven side. Let's see, over here is a Norj 30-inch Norj stove range, and this is kind of well, I'd say it's not the prettiest stove, but I got this from out of a house that they were actually going to tear down, and I pulled this stove out of here.
You mean
it needs to be cleaned
up.
up.
So it just needs to be cleaned, but the design is cool. It's shows that it's a little older.
Yeah, it does. And actually this has these color-matic switches, And when you have it plugged in, depending on how you have it set, this little eye lights up different colors.
So it's color coded to give you a little clue as to what it's doing.
Yeah. This over here, Ralph, this is an interesting stove, and this was a gift from my dear friends Richard and Lisa for my birthday one year. This is an Electro Chef stove, and look at that. It's got these curved legs on the front. It's kind of got this floating oven. Isn't this wild?
And what year do you think that's from?
Well, they made this stove for a number of years. This one's from the 40s, I believe. And it was made in Michigan, actually. That's also what's cool about this. I believe was made in, this one they had, Detroit, Michigan. They also made them in Mount Clemens, Michigan. And I gotta get, that will be fun. I gotta get that in the studio kitchen one day. It'd be fun to cook on that. Oh, what do we have down this aisle? So here is some more. I have a lot of these 40-inch stoves. I'm looking so forward to getting them into service in the kitchen. Here's a Calvinator. I think this one is a 49 or a 50. This one's a double oven Deluxe. Look at that baby. Isn't that beautiful?
I like it. It looks, you can tell it's bigger.
Here's another Frigidaire, and they made this body style for a long time with sort of different. It has here sort of this light. You could add this on, this light and clock. Over here is a Norj. It's got kind of a smallish oven. But I love, look at the contours of this stove.
Oh yeah.
It has a warming drawer, has its own switch here, a warming drawer, and then it's got these really kind of fun and funky little lights that, depending on where you have the heat setting set up, these light up in different configurations.
So that's another Norj.
That's another Norj. Here's another Norj. I don't have the stoves in any particular order. Here's another Norj stove. I love this. It's got a nice big oven. Then it has a storage drawer over here. And, but yeah, really great.
You can tell this one's a little more modern than this one.
You can tell. This is like early 50s and this is late 50s. But there are some styling cues if you look on the Norj. See, the doors has this contour?
Right.
Kind of, they like to do that. They like to kind of put that little contour on there.
Okay.
Then over here we've got a Westinghouse. And this is a big, big stove. And this is a double oven Westinghouse. Weighs a ton. But I'm going to try to get that, maybe, that might be the next stove that goes into the studio kitchen. Here's a super deluxe Frigidaire double oven. Look at that. This one has the original Frigidaire griddle.
Oh yeah.
See, it has a little peg right there, and it fits right on in the middle.
Oh, that's cool.
So for making sandwiches or pancakes or what have you. And let's see, here's another General Electric. Now this one's got push buttons, Ralph, but a little bit of a different style. Okay, sometimes these are called keyboard controls, piano key, because they kind of resembles that.
Especially
they're
this
bigger. One. This one also has an automatic cal rod unit, so that's right here, where this control it's on a spring, and it presses up against the bottom of the pan and to maintain a heat.
I see.
Here's another Westinghouse over here. I love this. So look at this. This is a 40-inch single oven. Look at that oven.
Wow.
Look at the size of it. It has the original broiler pan, so you could just turn on one side of the broiler or both sides, single or twin. Here's your broiler control right here.
You could do 10, 15-pound turkeys at once.
I know, right? I easily. Look at that. I just love this. Have not had a chance to put it into service yet, but we will.
Is that your biggest
This is
oven?
the biggest oven for sure. Yes. And then over here, this is a interesting piece, Ralph. This is a 1960 Tappan Fabulous 400 double oven. Look at this.
People might recognize this one from a certain TV show.
Well, you know what? I've researched it, and Samantha Stevens on Bewitched had a similar stove, but she had a Frigidaire flare. But a number of companies, Tappan, Hot Point, Westinghouse, they had this sort of a style where they had what they called an eye-level oven up here with your controls. And then look down here, Ralph. This is where
Wow, that's...
pull out. It had a drawer style
and you
burner.
You didn't even have to twinkle your nose, or
No,
it just came out like magic.
just like that. Now this is an interesting. It seems low because it is. This is actually a drop-in. This is meant to be built into a counter, and sort of it would sit. It would go into the 30-inch space, and it would sit in the counter, so it would be built up, so it would be at counter length. It's a built-in stove, but it's in this wood tone brown color, which I really like.
Yeah, that's color.
But you see
cool.
these stickers on it?
Yeah.
This stove was never used. It was never installed. It is literally brand new. It still has the sticker. Look on the inside. It still has everything. Still the tape. Everything
down.
is still in its original packaging.
From what year?
Even the drip pans. I think one of my stove friends helped me out with this. This is a self cleaner. I want to say this is maybe a 66 or 67.
And it's been untouched, unused since then.
Never installed, never used.
That's
brand new.
Wild. And it's a General Electric.
General Electric.
Some push buttons on top.
And then here you've got a Frigidaire here. This is when they came out with what they called the sheer look. Okay, it was sort of this angular design. I think they said like this. These sharp corners, and it was sort of this new across all of their appliances, washers, dryers, ranges, refrigerators. I've had this one at the cottage as well.
That's a big oven.
It's a nice big oven. I've got another General Electric. Whoop, I don't know what that is. Another General Electric here. This actually was I used this for a canning stove.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Remember?
I do, yeah.
In the canning
So this
shed.
was in the shed at
Yes,
the cottage.
At the cottage.
Okay.
Mhm. Here's another Frigidaire. This is one of their early electric clean, self-cleaning ovens.
Nice.
Beautiful baking stove. We'll come down this aisle. Here's a suite. I think this is a 53 or a 55 Kelvinator. Kind of a plain, no. Yeah, but I had it at the cottage, and I have to tell you, it works beautifully. It's got the knobs right on the front, which I always thought was a nice feature. Here's a late 60s Admiral stove. This is the only Admiral I have in the collection. And this is a self-cleaner as well. Remember that pink stove over there, Ralph?
Yes.
Here's the white one.
The white version with the French doors.
The French doors. So exact same stove except in white. So Ralph, here is a Westinghouse Terrace top. In my Detroit kitchen, I've got a white one, a 63 Westinghouse Terrace top. This is a little bit of a later model in Harvest Gold. This was a gift from my good friend John in Maryland, and thank you. This is great. This one I think will be a fun one to put in the studio kitchen. Again, it's got this wonderful terrace top design where the front burners are a couple inches lower than the top unit, And I love that I don't have, it's a harvest gold, which most of, of the stoves are white, so it's sort of a fun,
a standout.
Yeah, color.
Is there something missing in the back here, or is that just the way it's
No,
made?
it was just open. It didn't have a backsplash or a light. It just went right up against the wall like that. It has this tower with the clock and the automatic cooking timer on it.
So it's a Triceratops? I mean a terrace top.
Terrace top. Here's another Westinghouse range from the early 1970s. And this is the one that actually, when I first bought this building, I brought in here to actually cook on.
Oh, okay.
Here's a beautiful stove. I think this is one of the prettiest stoves that I have in the collection.
Wow.
This is a Frigidaire from 47, I think it is. And it was designed by Raymond Loewy, a very famous American industrial, well, he was actually French, but industrial designer.
Yes.
And he did this. He worked for Frigidaire for a number of years, and I mean, he designed all kinds of stuff.
He did the classic Coke bottle.
But look at this beautiful, just the chrome, the round handles, the circular shape, and this. Now, these two stoves I like to keep side by side because Frigidaire was owned by General Motors. And just like GM had different car lines at different levels, you had your Cadillac at one end and your Chevrolet at the other end, and then in between you had Buick and Olds and Pontiac. Well, these two are the same stove.
Just like one's fancier than
Except
the other?
This is the top of the line model. Got all the chrome, all the bling, all of this. So this is the Cadillac, and then here's the Chevrolet. This is the same stove. If you look at the body, it's exactly the same. The thing that's different about it is the trim, the handles. This doesn't have the fancy clock and timer and light and all of that. But the stove itself, this is the same stove. They're pressed. These metal doors, they're all pressed the same way. The knobs are in the same place. So I just love to use that as a comparison for how General Motors had different models of stoves and different price points, just like they did with cars. Okay. And then finally, this stove, this was the last stove that we had in the studio kitchen before we put in that 58 Frigidaire that's in there now. This is the big and beautiful Westinghouse, great stove, and just the detail on it, the chrome, these waterfall handles here, all of the bright work on it, and a beautiful cooking and baking stove.
Speaking of baking, sounds like something's ready to
come out of the oven. Well, just in time, because you know what? We have shared with our friends the range room here at Cavalcade. So, always adding to the collection, although I can't go too crazy because I'm going to run out of space. But I'm just grateful to be able to have a space where I can share these beautiful old ranges with all of you and our friends and actually use them and enjoy them and cook on them.
That's right. We're glad you were able to be with us for this tour of the range room.
Yep. And so we'll get you to other parts of the Cavalcade here as time goes on. And I know that a lot of you appreciate the appliance tours that we do, and they are fun to do. And I look forward to doing some more in the future. So thanks for spending some time with us. And we'll see you again real soon, right here on Cavalcade of Food. Bye, everybody.